So this is the story of how I got a chat show greenlit from Comedy Central and how they pulled it the day before the shoot. Yep, a few years ago I nearly became a chat show host on Comedy Central and it didn't happen. The show was called Comedians Doing Stuff. The basic idea was that I would interview comedians while doing things that they enjoy, loosely inspired by Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Now, if you go far back enough in the history of this channel, you'll see some very old clips that I did on the red carpet. In a very quick nutshell, I got bored of it, started pushing the boundaries. I did this. Rock-a-roller, you slag. How you doing? Good to see you, Toby.
Just call me a slag.
Pretty slag. How you doing?
I'm very well. How are you, you slag?
In case you don't know, that was Toby Keeble. I was quoting his catchphrase from Rock and Roller, and he actually thought I was calling him a slag. There you go. So, I got banned. Like I say, didn't really care at the time because I got very bored of the red carpet. And I then moved into doing one-to-one interviews with comedians. And after doing a few of those, I found that kind of boring. I kind of thought, well, what if I was to interview comedians and talent while doing different experiences? Maybe kind of pushing the limits of what I can actually do with them. So I started experimenting with the idea and the format. It started with having fish and chips with Milton Jones in the fish and chip shop. I then moved into having a cup of tea with Bill Bailey. I went bowling with Pete Furman. I went indoor skydiving with the noise next door. I took Nikki Kelly on the Bear Grylls experience. And archery with actor Brian Croucher. Now, after doing all of these interviews and having all of this footage, I had enough to put together what I thought was a fairly strong proposal for a potential show. I then floated the show around a few networks, and lo and behold, Comedy Central showed interest. I went into their offices in Camden, had a really great meeting, and it looked like something was going to happen. And go a few weeks later on from that original meeting, I basically get a phone call, and it's someone from Comedy Central who says, look, we really like the idea. If you could go away and line up some talent, some big names, some really big names for this show, we'll greenlight your project. We'll give you your own chat show on Comedy Central. Now, the way that I understood how that was going to work is that they would give me 1 or 2 pilot shoots that would go on in the dead of night, and then if they were received well, then that would go on to further episodes. So I then went on a mission to attach some big names to the project. Now, as I mentioned before, at the time of leading up to this, I'd done lots of work on the red carpet. I also had done some work directly for some film studios, including Fox, Warner, and Universal, where I got sent on some fairly nice press trips. Now, this meant that I had some great contacts in the world of film PR, and after a few phone calls, I managed to line up Ricky Gervais, who was promoting Life on the Road, Melissa McCarthy, who was promoting Ghostbusters, and then Zac Efron, who's promoting something just goddamn awful. I also put a call in to Chris Ramsey's agent. I can't remember for the life of me now why particularly it happened to be Chris Ramsey, but that's just the way it happened. And we had him lined up for the pilot. At this stage, everything was set to go, and I had absolutely no reason to believe that this wouldn't happen at this stage. You know, contracts had been exchanged. I'd done exactly what they wanted me to do in terms of lining up some big names for the show. Chris Ramsey, I'd got confirmation from his agent on the pilot. What could possibly go wrong? Unfortunately, I got a phone call to say, and this is the day before the shoot, that the whole project had been pulled. And what had happened was that the project, whoever I was dealing with at Comedy Central, they were not at the highest level. And apparently, from what I remember from the conversation, this is back in 2016, remember, the program proposal went up through the ranks at Comedy Central. Someone much higher up saw it, they didn't like it, and then pulled the plug. Now, still, to this day, I don't know the exact reason why the project was pulled, although I can take an educated guess. In an early meeting that I had with Comedy Central, I do remember a member of their team mentioning John Richardson, saying how wonderful he is, how funny he is, how the team would love to do something with him, but their hands were tied. Why? Because of his lack of followers online. Now remember, this is back in 2016. This is long before the days of TikTok. I think this is just as people were taking more of an interest into Instagram, because up until around about this time, it was mainly for photographers. So the main platform for comedians and entertainers to use was Twitter. I must have had, I don't know, 200, 250 followers on Twitter. I just never found the time to stop and do the whole thing. And I still think to this day that was the main thing that let it down. Now, in a moment, I'll play to you a concept reel that I put together at the time, and this was really to promote the idea to the networks that I approached. Because, by the way, apart from Comedy Central, I also sent it in to BBC, ITV, Channel 5. I actually had a really big meeting with ITV that went really well. But anyway, look, here's the reel. Enjoy.
If you've got a set and it's kind of going down the Swanee, it's a stag do crowd. What's your gag to turn it around?
One time I did a show for 450 oil rig workers, so like just men working on the oil fields. And I got on stage and I thought, well, I better relate to them. So I said fuck pretty early on, right? I dropped an F-bomb right away. I was like, hey guys, how the fuck are you? And all I heard from the back of the room was just one guy go, holy shit, that cunt said fuck.
And I didn't know until I was doing my research that you consider yourself a born-again Christian. Now, there's a lot of new comedians coming out now on the circuit, and it seems like every new comedian has a bit on being an atheist. So when you hear something like that, does that pee you off, or do you get annoyed, do you have arguments over it?
It depends what they're saying.
We can stick together, man. We can stick together.
Fuck you.
I knew this was about to happen, and I still let this happen. And somebody just grazed my dick. I don't know who it was. Someone grazed it. I think it was one of the girls, so that's good.
What made you want to be a comedian? What was the thing? Was there a thing that happened?
Someone said to me one day, Stephen, if you become a comedian, you too will climb an ice mountain.
Yes.
And I was like, well, sign me the fuck up.
Yeah. So what do you think of that then? I mean, I look at that now, and I think, okay, yeah, the concept could do with some more refinement, a bit more work, but I still think there's something there. I think it's probably been done now. I think over the last few years, I think there's probably been different variations of that don't give it as much mileage as it had back then. But look, let me know your thoughts. If you could think of a way that that could be hammered into something else that could be tied down to a format that would work today, let me know in the comments. Who knows? I might pick it up and try and use my PR contacts. I say that they're all. I don't have any contacts anymore. I tell you what, one of the things that this project did, comedians doing stuff, is burn. It burned virtually every single big PR bridge that I had, because I gave them my absolute word that this show was happening, because as far as I was concerned, it was going to happen. So yeah, there would have to be a lot of rebuilding of bridges if I did do anything like this again. But look, guys, that's the video. Please do like the video, leave me a comment if you made it this far. Thank you so much for watching, and take care of yourself. Till next time, cheers.